Yay, we're back. Let's let the nightmares begin. That's all I'm gonna fucking say. Okay. Jason looked. Bonnie was. This reminds me of the books. Jason looked. He saw the tree. He climbed the tree. He was happy that he climbed the tree. I saw him, he thought.
And then he was sad when he fell from the tree.
And died. I saw him, he thought, looking back down the hallway, but it was empty. Jessica came running up, out of breath. It was a sassy voice.
Is everyone okay? I heard screaming.
You were Lamar.
We're fine, Lamar said. Jason thought he saw something.
I'll be Marla.
Where's Carlton?
Marla said. She rubbed her temples. This one is giving me such a headache.
Why the fuck did you enter? He's still fighting with the control. How do you fight with controls?
He just punched them.
Take this, control. Jessica said, we should fight Charlie and Sean. I think we need to get out of here. Oh my god, halfway through the book and you now realize this place might be dangerous?
This is not halfway.
Close to halfway. I think they went that way.
Lamar said, pointing to the hall at the far end of the room just past the stage.
Come on.
Jessica said. Jason followed as the group crossed the main dining room again, maneuvering cautiously around tables and chairs. He looked back as they reached the hall. Suddenly, Bonnie appeared again, darting out from the arcade and ducking into the hall that led to Pirate's Cove. Jason watched his sister and the others file through the doorways, then slipped away
before they could see him.
No, that's Jason watched his sister and the others file through the doorway. I just didn't like how that was wrote. Then slipped away before they could see him go. He ran across the room, intent on following the rabbit, then slowed his pace when he reached the dark hallway. The lights in the...
Why would he follow the rabbit?
I don't know, because it's not Bonnie's obviously purple guy, because it's he talked about how it was like yellow, so he's a fucking moron. The lights in the little hall were completely out, and though he could see nothing, it was a minor relief from the pulsing strobes. Jason held the wall as he moved, trying to scan ahead of him for signs of movement, but it was too dark. His eyes had not adjusted. Okay, I have a question. Since Dave is not spring-tracked yet, how the fuck can he see? If Jason can't see shit, how the fuck can Dave see shit? I mean, I love Dave, but how the fuck?
He's got special night vision.
After what seemed like ages, he came out of the hall into Pirate's Cove. From a distance, he could hear his sister's voice calling his name. Guess they notice I'm gone, he thought, wryly.
Did they just ditch him?
No, he ran away from them. Because he didn't believe that... They didn't believe him when he said that Bonnie took Carlton.
Oh, okay.
I hate that word. I can't ever say it right. Wire.
I don't even think that's a word. I think it's just a misspelled typo.
I can't even say that.
Whirly?
I don't know. He ignored it. Crossing the room, he peered down the other hallway, the one that led to more party rooms, but it was so dark that he could scarcely see more than a few feet ahead. Again, how the fuck can Dave see? Turning back, he approached the little stage, out of order sign still slung across it, as if anything in this place is in order. Suddenly, hilarious. Suddenly the curtain moved and Jason froze. The curtain began pulling back. Jason couldn't bring himself to run.
How old is this kid again?
I think he's like 10?
Okay,
Maybe
I
11?
thought he was 8. And I'm going, there's no way an 8-year-old kid can think this way.
All went dark, and the lights came on suddenly to reveal Carlton standing in front of him, having emerged from behind the curtains. Wait, hold on, what? What? I am not kidding you. When he does kidnap Carlton, what the fuck is happening? Oh, wait.
It says now, smothering his face. I think we just entered a flashback.
No, I think what he means is that
Because this right here shows Carlton being captured.
Oh, okay, now, okay. I was about to say, what the fuck? What do you,
It's like down here.
is this, no, like, am I Carlton now? What are you doing back here by yourself? Come on, let's go. Carlton greeted him with a warm smile. Awash with relief, Jason took a step forward, opening his mouth to speak, and stiffened, struck still with fear. Bonnie suddenly broke through the darkness, appearing beneath the stage lights before them. But it was not Bonnie. The rabbit's yellow fur was almost blinding in the light. He rushed at him, and before Jason could cry out, the giant rabbit had a hold of Carlton from behind, smothering his face with a giant matted paw and wrapping his other great arm around Carlton's chest, gripping tightly. Carlton struggled silently, hitting and kicking, but the creature barely seemed to notice. The creature... He screamed until the rabbit's paw, but the sound was followed whole. Duh, it was! Ugh. As he fought, the rabbit slunk back the way he came, dragging Carlton with him like a prize from the hunt. Hilarious. Jason watched them go, agape. His heart
Jason, you
raced.
could have done something.
Fuck that shit, I ain't gonna help him. His heart raced, his breathing was shallow. The stifling air around him made him lightheaded. A noise came from behind him, the grinding screech of rusted metal beginning to move, and he leaped forward and turned, moving just in time to avoid a hook as it plunged swiftly downward. Foxy's eyes flashed in synchrony with the light above, and for a dizzy moment it seemed to Jason that those eyes were the controlling force behind it all. That if Foxy closed his eyes, every light might go out. The animal did not move like the others. It slowly, purposely rose between the gap in the curtains, its gleaming eyes reaching a staggering height. Charlie, go.
Jason!
It was Charlie's voice. He knew, but he kept staring back and forth, first at Foxy, then at the place where Carlton had been stolen away.
Jason!
She called again, and then she and John were beside him, touching him, shaking him out of his ghastly fear. John grabbed his hand and pulled him into a run. In the main room, the others were already halfway down the hallway to the outside door, all but Marley, who was waiting anxiously at the entrance. Her face flamed with relief when she saw Jason. Marla, Bonnie, he took Carlton, Jason yelled, but she just put a hand on his back and pushed him through the door into the hall. Oh yeah, go, Jason. But I saw Bonnie take Carlton, he cried. But he ran, afraid to stop. They ran down the hallway to the outside door, all bouncing with a frightened impatient.
That's a weird choice of words. A frightened impatience. Like, that they're scared, but they're also, like, really hurrying to get out the door.
As they filed through the alley, one by one, there was no way to go faster. When they were all through, Charlie looked down the hallway for a long moment, but there was no one coming. She shoved the door closed and stepped out of the way as Lamar and John wrestled the shelf back into place, blocking it off. Oof!
No one saw Dave. Charlie said. It was not a question. They all shook their heads. He must have taken off when the lights started going haywire, Lamar offered, but he did not sound convinced.
Carlton!
Jason cried out again.
Carlton is still in there. Bonnie took him.
They all glanced around. Carlton was not with them. Oh no, Jessica said. He's still inside.
Bonnie took him.
Jason said, choking out the words one by one, his voice shaking.
I saw it. Bonnie was there. He was in Pirate's Cove. And he grabbed Carlton and carried him away. I couldn't stop him.
He scrubbed his sleeve across his eyes, wiping tears. Boo-hoo. Oh my God, finally, put this book.
Oh, sweetheart. Marla hugged him and he clung to her, hiding his face in her shirt. No, it was just a trick of the light. Bonnie couldn't do that. He's just a robot. He was on stage when we left. Jason closed his eyes. He had only glanced for a second at the main stage as they were leaving, but it was true. Bonnie had been there, moving in the strange and clumsy twist clumsy twist and bend stuck in place. He pulled away from his sister's arm. I saw it, he insisted more weakly. Bonnie took him. His others exchanged glances above his head. Charlie looked at Marley, who shrugged.
We have to go back in, Charlie said. We have to get him. Jessica was nodding, but John cleared so.
I think we need help. It's not safe in there. Let's get Carlton's dad. I'm not taking Jason back in there.
Charlie wanted to protest, but she bit her tongue. They were right. Of course they were right. Whatever had just happened was beyond their opinion.
Why the fuck? Okay,
Why not just take a gun with them?
we're gonna highlight this because why the fuck wouldn't Jason say? So he says he saw Bonnie take him, but it says that it describes Bonnie as yellow. Jason knows in his big brain of a 10-year-old, he has ultimate permanency now that he's blue, purplish kind of color. So why the fuck wouldn't he say, oh yeah, Bonnie looked a little weird. He was yellow. Why wouldn't he say that? That's obviously something that needs to be said.
Because plot. Someone already replied. Someone already replied, and they agreed with me.
I know it's bad. They made their way back through the corridors of the abandoned mall. I thought it said abandoned mill. Not bothering to be cautious with their footsteps or the beams of their lights. Here you go, Charlie. Say it darkly, by the way, sweetheart. Darkly.
So much for being sneaky.
Charlie said darkly, but no one responded. By silent consensus, their pace quickened steadily. Jesus, by
Can
the
we just
time.
highlight that word?
Yeah.
That is not a good word. Darkly. What? How do you say something darkly? Do you like how? Does your voice become gross all of a sudden?
By the time they reached the parking lot, they were almost running. Spotting her car as they came out of the front door, Charlie felt an almost physical relief to see it. It was like an old friend. Okay, I have a question. Oh. Well, she says, she suggests it, but then, doesn't happen.
This is Charlie. Someone should stay here.
She said, pausing with her hand on the door handle.
We can't leave Carl to
I was about to say, okay, so Marla won't take Jason back in there. So they let the rest of them go back in there and try to find him, pick up a metal pipe or something, while she goes to get the police. But no, Marla wants him dead. No, Marla said firmly, we're leaving now. They looked at her in surprise for a moment. Suddenly, she was talking to them all the way she talked to Jason. Sister knows best. Lamar and Jason exchanged glances, but no one said anything.
Marla?
Oh, we're going into town, all of us, she added, giving Charlie a warning look, and we're finding help. Yeah, that's a
Oh, and then they just suddenly agree.
Oh my god, my baby appears.
Amsterdam. Oh, and they just somehow agreed.
They hurried to their cars as Charlie took the wheel. I think I can imagine her taking it off.
Oh, well, guess we can't go now, Marla. We're going back inside.
John got into the passenger seat, as always, and she smiled tightly at him. The fuck, tightly? Okay. Jessica climbed in the back a moment later, and Charlie felt a minor disappointment. She wanted to talk to him alone. We're running... Oh, fuck, that's you.
We're running for help. It's not a date. Of course it's not.
She scolded herself. But that hadn't really been the point. He felt safe, a touchstone amidst the strange... He...
Yeah, I guess whenever Charlie's near John, she feels safe.
He felt safe, a touchstone amidst the strange things that were happening all around them. She looked over at him, but he was staring out the window. They pulled out of the parking lot, following Marla's car as she sped into the darkness. When they reached town, Marla yanked her car to the side of the main road and stopped, and Charlie followed suit. Before the car had fully come to a halt, Jessica leaped out of the backseat and started running. Marla followed a step behind. They stopped in front of the movie theater.
How do you leap out of the back seat?
I don't know, you throw the door open and get out, I guess. They stopped in front of the movie theater, and only then did Charlie see that there was a cop in uniform beneath the what?
Wait, where are you? The
Marquis?
Let me Google it.
Leaning back against his black and white car, his eyes wide at the sight of the young woman barreling towards him, and he took an involuntary step back as Marla started talking without pausing for a breath.
What the fuck is a marquee?
Please, you've got to come, Marlo was finishing as the others caught up. The cop looked a little bewildered. He had a shiny pink face. His hair was so short that entirely covered by his hat. He was young, maybe mid-20s, Charlie realized. He was looking at them skeptically.
Okay, so we're let's say there was a confident view from beneath the marquee. Okay, so in North America, it is a canopy projecting over the entrance to a theater, hotel, or the building.
Oh, okay, I know what that is. Okay. I'm Officer Dunn. You can't tell me anything different. Is this an... Oh, okay, so I love Officer Dunn, so I'm going to use my usual voice. Is this an actual emergency? He said, you may not realize it, but pranks can get you into real trouble. Jessica rolled her eyes and stepped forward, closing the distance between them.
We're not playing a prank,
she said crisply, and Charlie suddenly remembered how tall she was.
Our friend is trapped in that abandoned shopping mall, and it's your job to help us.
The shopping mall? He seemed confused, then looked in the direction they'd come from. That shopping mall? His eyes widened, then he frowned at them reproachfully, looking remarkably like a disappointed parent despite his youth. What were you doing up there in the first place?
He asked a smart question. Good for him.
I love him so much.
He's smart.
But, yeah, that's why they had to kill him off, because he's smart.
Oh no.
Charlie and Marla exchanged glances, but Jessica didn't blink. Oh, you're Jessica.
Deal with us later. He's in danger, and you have to help us, officer. She leaned in and peered at his name tag. Officer Dunn, do you want me to go into the fire department?
Honestly, I love her for, I love the author for naming a character that, because we all are at this point. We're all Officer Dunn. Despite her fear, Charlie almost laughed. Jessica said it as if she were in a store, threatening to take her business elsewhere. It was so absurd it should have gotten her no more than a puzzled glance, but Dunn reached for his radio hastily. No, he said, hang on. He pressed a button and the radio emitted a short burst of static. Charlie felt a brief chill at the sound. As she looked around, he saw John stiffen and Jason take a tiny step closer to Marla. Not seeming to notice the reaction, Dunn barked incomprehensible sounds into his radio, talking in cop code, and so Charlie suddenly had a flash of memory. God fucking damn it. Of running around the yard whispering into walkie-talkies with Marla. They could never understand each other on the cheap toys her father had found in the drugstore bargain bins, but they didn't mind. Actual communication was never the point. Jessica.
Oh, sorry. Charlie, come on!
Jessica shouted at her, and Charlie came back to herself. She could have just said Charlie was snapped back to reality, not came back to herself. What the fuck? Everyone was heading towards the cars and piling in. Marla pulled out in front, and the cop followed her, with Charlie bringing up the rear.
Oh, sorry. Why doesn't he have the siren on?
Jessica asked. Her voice was thin and brittle, as if only her...
No, it's not asked, it's said, remember.
As if her only choices were a sharp tongue or tears. He doesn't believe us, John said softly.
He should have a siren on.
Okay, from what I know from going to... correct me if I'm wrong in the comments if anybody's watching this. From what I know from going to law enforcement class, this doesn't warrant a siren. His friend is trapped in the mall. It doesn't warrant a siren. He's not hurt. He's not injured from what he's heard. He doesn't know anything about this. So literally he can't put his thing on without knowing more. Because he can't run through traffic and then for no reason. Because he can get written up for that shit.
And plus, I think, it's only for an emergency.
It's only for emergencies, and he's not hurt. They didn't say he was hurt. They didn't tell him anything. He's not hurt from what he's heard. He's not in danger. He's just trapped. And listen, I wouldn't believe him either. I wouldn't believe these kids either.
They're dumbasses for going to the mall in the first place for their so-called ritual.
Charlie's knuckles were right on the steering wheel as she stared straight ahead at the cop's red taillights. When they got back to the mall, Jessica dashed ahead, forcing the rest of them to run behind her. Charlie didn't mind it. It felt good to run, purposeful. Lamar was talking to the cop as they ran, shouting over the noise of their thudding feet.
Oh, sorry. Lamar. Or is that done?
Yeah, that's Lamar.
The restaurant's all boarded up, but there's a door left open.
He said, as the words broken by his uneven breathing.
Behind the plastic, you move your dark alley. Crowd too smells like feet.
Okay, why did I laugh at that? You get that. Okay, you get that book. Officer Dunn stuttered briefly, but he regained his stride. When they reached the alley, they slowed their pace, moving more cautiously down the narrow hall until they came to the door. Right here, John said, and Dunn moved forward to help him with the shelf. They threw it back too fast, the contents rattling and wobbling.
I just feel like there's way too many characters in the book. Like, you have Lamar, Jason, Marla. You have
and like I've said before, half of them never come back.
Lamar doesn't come back in the second book. The only ones that come back in the second book are Marla and Carlton.
You mean the third book? The second book.
Towards the end of the second book.
Yeah, towards the end of the second book.
And then in the third book, they make an appearance. But Marla hardly is in the third book. So it's like, why do you add these characters if you're never going to use them again?
I know. The shelf pitched backwards, and tools, cables, and paint cans full of nails
and stop
crashed
forcing
the floor.
in the romance. Like, no one gives a shit about the romance. Just make it a book about Five Nights at Freddy's.
Like, literally, I can tell so much that it was just in there. It's just forced in there because
teens
like romance. Literally, if they took the romance out, it'd be way better, in my opinion. I mean, the writing still sucks ass, but if you took out the romance, it'd still be like...
It would be like a little bit better.
Yeah, a little bit better. And it's so blatantly obvious that it's forced. Ugh.
Because it's like, oh, Charlie likes John, but John doesn't notice Charlie. What will they do? It's so bad that the relationship between Charlie and Jessica is more developed than the relationship between Charlie and John, to the point where I'm hoping that Charlie and Jessica gets together, but it's like in the third book, Charlie and John end up kissing, so it's like, ugh.
Ow! Ow! John yelled as the hammer bounced off his foot. They all watched as the thing scattered, some rolling away and vanishing down the dark corridor.
Like, apparently from what I've heard from, like, critical reviewers, Jessica actually becomes, like, the best character in the third book.
She is the best character in all of them.
Yeah, she kinda is.
What? Jason wailed as they all looked up from the spill. He was pointing at the door. Let me guess, it's boarded up. Yep. What is this? Marla gasped. The door had chains strung across it from top to bottom, 3 enormous padlocks holding them all together. The links were bolted into the metal frame of the door. They were heavy, too heavy to cut without special tools. It was all rusty. The whole thing looked as if it had been there for years. Charlie walked up to the door and touched the chain, as if to be sure it was real.
Oh, is this Charlie?
Yeah.
Oh. This wasn't here.
She said, the words sounding insane even as she spoke.
Wait, that's not insane, that's inane.
Oh, inane. Okay. We have to get him out, Jason cried haltingly, his hands covering his eyes. Bonnie's going to kill him, and it's my fault. What is he talking about? The officer said, looking at them with renewed suspicion. Who is Bonnie, and why is she going to hurt your friend?
It's a robot.
Charlie said quickly.
The robot's from Freddy Fazbear's. Sorry, I just saw that.
Okay.
I just saw these, they're like so close together,
Yeah.
so it's like, are still there, and they still work.
Freddy Fazbear's. Dunn's face flushed as he looked at the door again. I used to go there as a kid, he said softly, his tone caught between the nostalgia and fear. He caught himself quickly and cleared his throat. He came to life, Jason insisted, no longer making the effects to hide his tears. John? What? Dunn bent down to his height and his tone softened. What's your name? He asked. We have to get him out, Jason repeated. His name is Jason, Marla said, and Jason glared at her. Jason, Dunn said. He put a hand on Jason's shoulder, glancing at the others with obvious suspicion.
Oh, is that Charlie? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
He thinks we made him say that.
Charlie realized. Okay, now that I'm reading this again, I love Officer Dunn so much more now. Like, he was underappreciated when I first read it. Now he's...
Because he's asking the most logical questions.
My beautiful child.
He's asking the most logical questions. Like, okay, there's a kid here, so they might have, like, taught him to say this so that they wouldn't get caught.
My beautiful child, I will miss you. Because you're here for, like, a paragraph. Not a paragraph, but, like, at least half a chapter, then you're killed.
Why couldn't they kill Clay Burke and have Officer Dunn in, like, the second book? Because he's at least smart.
Officer Dunn's fucking amazing, man.
Even though he's only a temporary character.
Mm-hmm. Jason wriggled in Dunn's grasp, but the officer did not let him go, looking him in the eyes and asking the next question. Jason, did they tell you to say this? What's going on here? Irritated, Jason pulled free and took a large step back. That's what really happened, he said firmly. Officer Dunn exhaled a long, slow vent of frustration. Then he got to his kid, shedding his kid-friendly act. So the robots took your friend, he said. I know what you're trying to pull, he said, his tone.
We were in there.
Charlie stated flatly, keeping her voice level as if saying it calmly and plainly enough might convince him that they were not telling lies.
This is Charlie again? Our friend didn't make it out. Good! He deserved it back.
Yeah, honestly. They also looked again at the chains. Look, he said, apparently deciding to give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know how you got in there in the first place, and right now I don't want to know. But the machinery in there is old. It hasn't been touched in 10 years. Chances are it's pretty spooky. Heck, I wouldn't want to go in there. Then why do you, love? Why do you? So even though I can't blame you for being freaked out, I can guarantee you those robots aren't moving by themselves. The place is dead and it needs to be
I just
left.
realized the person that made the book responded to me. Like, they said they realized their fanfic was bad. And they said a discontinued post. I know a lot of people like the story, but I don't. And I don't feel like finishing it. It's like, congratulations, you realize that your story was a mistake. That's what we all learn. Wish this author could say the same.
The place is dead and it needs to be left alone, he said with a forced chuckle. Jason said his job, but he didn't say anything.
No, don't do that. I'm gonna write a Jordy.
Oh, don't worry, there's tons of those on Wattpad. I found them randomly. I wanted to fucking shoot myself. I didn't read any of them. I didn't even click on any of them, but
I want to find a Charlie and Jessica story.
I think you all need to go home. Dunn finished. The statement sounded more like a threat than advice. They looked at one another. After a moment of uncomfortable silence, Jessica looked to Charlie.
These chains weren't here before, right?
She faltered, looking back at her friends for confirmation, like she was beginning to doubt her own memory.
No.
Charlie said instantly.
They weren't. We aren't leaving, and we need your help.
Fine, Dunn said shortly. What's his name? He deduced the notebook seemingly out of nowhere.
Carlton Burke.
Jessica said. She was about to spell it for him when suddenly Officer Dunn put down his pen, closing his eyes, his nostrils flaring. He glanced at them, no longer looking quite so young. I'm going to give you one more chance. Tell me exactly what happened. He spoke slowly, emphasizing the spaces between his words. He was in control again, no longer out of his depth, like he was suddenly understood everything. They tried to explain it all at once, talking over one another. Jessica's voice was the loudest and calmest, but even she could not keep her anxiety from bleeding through. Charlie hung back quietly. Tell me exactly what happened. Where were they supposed to start? With that night? With the week? With Michael? The first time our father picked up a circuit board? No, what the fuck? Charlie! He's not asking your life story, Charlie. He doesn't give a fuck about that. He wants to know what the fuck happened with Carlton. God.
He wants to know why you guys went to the mall in the first place.
Jesus! How is anyone ever to respond to something like, tell me what happened?
Just highlight that entire thing.
How much you want to bet if you went to your local store and you put 50?
The cop was nodding, and he picked up the radio again, but this time he spoke comprehensively. Nora, call Burke. It's his kid. I'm up at the old mall site. It was answering versus static, and the officer turned his attention back to them. Come on, he said. Come on, where? John said. Off the property. Off the property! This man is beautiful. Where the fuck did my thing go? There it is.
Oh, your mom's here as well.
Oh, huh.
We're starting to wave together.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but yay!
Like from a store. Like waiting for the paper to go in the bathroom or something, and like joint behind the counter and got it.